Did you know that just $5 a day could be enough for you to never depend on a salary again? It might sound like an exaggeration, but today you're going to understand how that's possible, with strategy, discipline, and time on your side. In this video, I'm going to show you how small financial habits can completely transform your life. After studying the behavioral patterns of the world's wealthiest people, I discovered an accessible path that anyone can follow. And if you apply what you're about to learn here today, you could be taking your first step toward true financial freedom. You might be wondering, if it's that simple, why do most people keep struggling with money their whole lives? The truth is, many people work hard, give their best, and still end up in the red by the end of the month. Not because they're lazy, disorganized, or incapable, but because they were taught the wrong way. From a young age, we're told the path to financial stability is study hard, get a good job, work for decades, and save whatever is left. But that model no longer works like it used to. The cost of living rises, wages stagnate, and the money you save loses value over time. On top of that, there's a quiet and limiting belief that only people who are born rich, get lucky, or build a huge business can become wealthy. This causes millions of people to not even try to invest because they think they don't have enough to start. And that's where the mistake lies. The problem isn't a lack of money, it's a lack of direction. It doesn't matter if you can save $500 a month or just $5. What makes the difference is how you use that money and how much time you give it to grow. Today, you'll discover that financial freedom isn't reserved for the wealthy. It's available to anyone who has the courage to start, even if it's with very little. In this video, you'll understand why small financial habits, repeated with discipline, can completely change your life. We'll begin by exploring the myth of $5 a day and how this seemingly insignificant amount can turn into a million-dollar fortune. Then, you'll see why working more doesn't mean getting richer, and how using money to your advantage is far smarter than trading time for a paycheck. We'll also talk about the common mistakes people make with saving, the power of compound interest, and the crucial difference between assets and liabilities. You'll learn how to take your first steps, which strategies to use even with little capital, and how to automate your wealth building using simple tools like the Dividend Reinvestment Plan, DRIP. All of this with real-life examples, simple calculations, and a clear mindset. Anyone can build wealth, as long as they know what they're doing. The myth of $5. Most people believe that you need a lot of money to start investing. They think, once I start earning more, then I'll invest. But that's one of the most dangerous traps in personal finance, waiting to have a lot before starting with a little. The truth is, you don't need large sums to build wealth. You need small amounts, applied consistently and patiently. And we're not talking about theory. We're talking about math. Imagine this. You decide to invest just $5 a day. That amount represents a coffee, a snack, or some expense you honestly don't even notice anymore. If you invest those $5 daily in an index fund like the S&P 500, which has historically returned around 10% per year, after 45 years, you will have accumulated over $1.3 million. That's right. Just $5 a day, with consistency and automatic reinvestment, can make you a millionaire. Most people underestimate this power because they're used to thinking about money in short-term terms. If $5 buys almost nothing today, how could it build a future? But what they don't see is what the wealthy have always known. Well-directed money isn't just an expense, it's a seed. And seeds, with time and discipline, grow into trees. It's not about how much you have. It's about what you do with what you have, every single day. This shift in mindset is what separates those who remain stuck in a paycheck cycle from those who build freedom. And that freedom starts with something as simple as the coffee you choose not to buy. Now that you know it's possible to start small, let's talk about why working more isn't the right path to getting rich, and what you should do instead. Working more, getting rich. After realizing that $5 a day can make you a millionaire, one inevitable question comes up. But what if I just work more? Isn't that faster? It's natural to think this way. We were taught that effort equals reward. Work more hours, earn more money. That's the model we've been taught since childhood. But here's the truth. You have a limit on time, but money doesn't. You can't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But your money can. While you sleep, travel, or rest, the money you've invested keeps working non-stop, generating more wealth for you. And this is where the major difference lies between the mindset of those stuck in the work cycle and those building financial independence. Hard work is important, especially in the beginning. But if your progress depends solely on your physical effort, you're trading hours for money forever. The rich do things differently. They build systems that work for them. Whether it's investments, businesses, real estate, or royalties, the principle is the same. Multiply time through capital. So the question isn't, how can I work more? The real question is, how can I make my money work for me? And for that, the first step is to stop letting your money sit idle. Because as we'll see next, keeping your money in a savings account could be one of the biggest mistakes of your financial life. The mistake of leaving money in savings. If you still believe that leaving your money in a savings account is a safe way to protect it, it's time to rethink that idea. For years, we were encouraged to put money in the bank. The idea was simple: save today, benefit tomorrow. But what no one explained is that, over time, the value of that saved money decreases. And the villain behind it all has a name: inflation. Inflation silently erodes your purchasing power. In other words, what you can buy today for $100 will cost $120, $150, or even $200 in the future. And the return on savings? It barely keeps up with inflation. In practice, you're losing money every year. Saving money is important, but letting it sit idle is wasting its potential. While savings accounts yield less than inflation, there are simple, accessible, and safe investments that yield 2, 3, or even more times as much. Index funds, for example, track the growth of the largest companies in the market and have a far stronger history of returns. That's why the wealthy don't let their money sit still. They put it into assets that grow over time. The mindset needs to change. Saving is the first step, but investing is what truly transforms. And the best way to invest, especially for beginners, is to understand the concept we're about to explore: compound interest, the most powerful secret in finance. Compound interest. Albert Einstein once called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. According to him, those who understand it earn it. Those who don't, pay it. But what exactly is compound interest? And why is it so powerful? Imagine you invest $100 today and earn a 10% return by the end of the year. Now you have $110. The following year, that 10% isn't calculated just on the original $100, but on the new $110. In the third year, it's calculated on $121, and over time, the growth stops being linear and becomes exponential. It's like a snowball. At first, it's small, but as it rolls and gathers more snow, it grows faster and faster. Let's put this into numbers that are closer to your reality. If you invest $5 a day, which is about $150 a month, and maintain that habit for 45 years with an average return rate of 10% per year, you'll accumulate around $1.3 million. Now take a look at something interesting. In the first 10 years, you'll have about $30,000. After 20 years, around $100,000. At 30 years, that number exceeds $340,000. And after that, the growth skyrockets. This happens because over time, the interest starts earning interest itself. You're no longer earning just on what you invested. You're earning on what your money has already generated. The secret, therefore, isn't how much you invest, but how long you keep that money invested. That's why time is your greatest ally. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow. And the longer you wait to start, the more expensive it becomes to make up for lost time. Compound interest turns small amounts into large fortune, as long as you have discipline and patience. Now that you understand the engine behind capital multiplication, it's time to learn how to distinguish what makes you rich from what keeps you poor. Assets versus liabilities. Now that you understand how money can multiply over time, the question is, what exactly should you invest in to make that happen? The answer lies in a fundamental distinction most people were never taught: the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. It's that simple. Here are a few practical examples. An asset could be a dividend-paying stock, a rental property, or a business that operates without your direct involvement. A liability could be a car that you have to fuel, maintain, and repair. A brand new phone bought on installments. A loan for something that doesn't appreciate in value. The problem is, while the rich focus on buying income-generating assets, the middle class and poor often spend most of their income on liabilities disguised as achievements. They buy things that look like success, but in reality, just drain their money month after month. If you truly want to build wealth, you have to break that pattern. Start prioritizing the acquisition of assets, even if they're small, even if they're simple. Remember, assets work for you. Liabilities make you work for them. And the best type of asset for beginners, which can be bought with small amounts, is more accessible than ever. Let's now see how you can start building your asset base from scratch with just $5 a day. Starting with $5. Now that you understand you need to buy assets, not liabilities, the big question becomes, but how do I start if I only have $5 a day? The good news is that you don't need a lot of money to start investing. With today's technology and platforms, anyone can become an investor in just a few minutes. Here's how. Step 1. Choose a reliable brokerage. Platforms like Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, or Robinhood in the US allow you to open investment accounts quickly, easily, and with little to no fees. Step 2. Invest in index funds. If you don't know where to start, funds that track indexes like the S&P 500 are a great choice. They're made up of the 500 largest companies in the US, like Apple, Google, Amazon, and other giants. In other words, you're buying a small piece of each with just a few dollars. Step 3. Automate it. Set up automatic deposits of $5 a day or $150 per month. That way, you remove the effort from the equation and guarantee the consistency needed for long-term growth. Step 4. Don't touch the money. The key is to let time and compound interest do the work. Don't withdraw it. Don't move it. Don't interrupt it. Investing with small amounts isn't just possible. It's more effective than waiting to save up large sums before starting. If you invest small amounts frequently and consistently, you'll outperform someone who invests a large amount once and then stops. Now that you know how to take the first step, it's time to understand what happens when you keep that habit going long enough. The snowball effect. By investing $5 a day consistently, you're doing more than just saving money. You're creating a snowball effect, one of the most powerful forces in the world of finance. Think of a small snowball at the top of a mountain. At first, it seems insignificant, but as it rolls downhill, it gathers more snow and becomes bigger and bigger. The more it rolls, the more it grows, and the faster it grows. In the investment world, that mountain is time, and the snow that builds up is compound interest. which you've already learned about. Here's a practical example. If you invest $250 per month for 10 years, you might end up with around $30,000. Keep investing the same amount for 20 years, and that number could exceed $100,000. In 30 years, you're looking at nearly $340,000. From there, the growth becomes explosive. Over $900,000 in 40 years, and more than $1.3 million in 45 years. All of that with just $5 a day. The secret is to not break the momentum. Even when it seems like nothing's happening, you're building up force. Most people give up in the early years because the results seem small, but those who play the long game reap rewards that seem unreachable to those stuck in short-term thinking. The snowball effect is slow at first, but unstoppable in the end. And if you want to speed up that growth even more, there's a simple and effective way to do it. Invest just a little more each day. Invest more, grow more. If investing $5 a day can make you a millionaire, imagine what happens when you increase that amount. This is where you start to cut decades off your path to financial freedom. Let's look at the numbers. By investing $10 a day, about $300 a month, and maintaining a 10% annual return, you could reach over $2.6 million in 45 years. With $20 a day, that number can exceed $5 million in the same period. And what if you have less time? Investing $10 a day for just 20 years could get you close to $200,000. At $20 a day, in 20 years, you'd be approaching $400,000. In other words, doubling or quadrupling your investment doesn't just double your results, it multiplies them exponentially. The best part is, you don't have to start with $20 a day right now. You can start with $5 and gradually increase it as your income grows or as you cut unnecessary expenses. Every extra dollar you invest today shortens the time it takes to reach your goal. This is the game the wealthy are playing. They accelerate the snowball with consistency, intelligence, and long-term vision. And that brings us to the most important ingredient in this journey: discipline. The difference between those who start and those who finish. The power of discipline. Many people start investing with excitement. They make spreadsheets, open accounts, and make their first deposit. But after a few months, they stop. And that's where most people fail. Because investing isn't about temporary motivation. It's about ongoing discipline. It's doing the right thing even when you're not seeing immediate results. In the first few months or even years, your growth will seem modest. You'll look at your balance and think, all this effort for so little? But that kind of thinking is a major enemy. Discipline is what keeps compound interest going until it fully kicks in. It's what turns an ordinary action into an extraordinary result. The rich didn't become millionaires overnight. They built wealth through consistent habits, repeated for years, sometimes decades. If you invest every month, without breaking the cycle, you'll eventually reach a point where your wealth grows on its own, faster than you could ever save manually. And that only happens to those who stay consistent, even when results are still invisible. Discipline protects you from anxiety, impatience, and excuses. It is the quiet pillar behind every success story. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Because those who are consistent win. And now that you understand that, it's time to face the real reasons why most people never get there. Why most people never get rich. If the path is simple, investing small amounts consistently, leveraging time and compound interest, why then do most people never build wealth? There are three main reasons. The first is a lack of patience. We live in an age of instant gratification. We want everything now. And when results don't show up quickly, people give up. They quit right before the growth curve starts to accelerate. The second reason is a lack of financial education. Schools teach math, history, and science, but not how to manage money. Most people learn about finances from family members who also never had access to proper financial knowledge. The result? A cycle that repeats itself generation after generation. The third is emotional control. When the market drops, people panic. They sell everything. They exit investments out of fear and lock in losses that could have been avoided with one simple rule: don't touch what's working in the long run. Successful investors know that market crashes are part of the cycle, and often the best times to buy at a discount. So, it's not intelligence that separates the rich from everyone else. It's behavior, patience, knowledge, emotional control. If you develop these three elements, you'll be far ahead of the majority. And the sooner you begin acting with that mindset, the better. Because as we'll now see, waiting too long to take your first step comes at a very high and irreversible cost. The cost of delaying the start. If there's one financial mistake most people make, and later deeply regret, it's waiting too long to start investing. Time is the most valuable ingredient in the wealth-building process, and unlike money, it doesn't come back. Let's look at some real-life scenarios. If you start investing $5 a day at age 20 and keep that habit until you're 60, you could accumulate around $1.3 million. But if you start at age 30 with the same amount and discipline, the final value drops to about $500,000, and if you wait until age 40, the result plummets to approximately $200,000. See the difference? Delaying by 10 years can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over the long term, and delaying by 20 years could cost you your future. The reason is simple. You're not just skipping a few years of investing, you're losing all the compound interest that would have been earned during those lost years. It's like planting a tree. If you plant it today, it starts growing now. If you wait 10 years to plant it, you'll have to wait 10 extra years to enjoy its fruits. Most people say, when I have more money, I'll start. But the truth is, the less you have, the more urgent it is to begin. Because time is passing no matter what. And every day you wait is a day your money could be growing. And when that growth hits a certain point, something amazing happens. Your money starts working for you, with no extra effort on your part. The financial breakaway point. There's a magical moment in every investor's journey. It's when your contributions are no longer the main driver of your wealth growth. This moment is known as the financial breakaway point. Up to this point, you've been investing month after month, watching your balance grow slowly. Most of that growth has come from the money you've been putting in. But over time, compound interest starts to take over. And then, your money begins to grow on its own, faster than you could add to it manually. Here's a practical example. Imagine that after years of consistency, you've built up $100,000 in investments. With an average return of 10% per year, that gives you $10,000 in a single year, without doing anything else. And the following year, the return will be even higher. Not because you contributed more, but because interest is now working for you. This is when your financial independence begins to take shape. You realize that you no longer rely solely on your own effort. Your money has become a machine of constant multiplication. This point never comes for those who start and stop. It only happens to those who stay the course, even when results are slow at first. And when you reach it, a new possibility emerges: the freedom to choose. Because the real goal of building wealth isn't luxury. It's freedom. True freedom. Many people associate wealth with luxury cars, mansions, and international travel. But true wealth has nothing to do with showing off. It has everything to do with freedom. Freedom to choose where you work, or whether you work at all. Freedom to spend more time with your family, with your health, with your purpose. Freedom to say no to things that don't make sense, because you're no longer financially dependent on them. When you reach the financial breakaway point, money stops being a burden and becomes a tool. You no longer live to pay bills. You begin to live based on your values, your time, and your priorities. And that's when life truly changes. How many people do you know who stay in jobs they hate or give up on dreams out of fear they won't be able to pay the bills? Financial freedom isn't about quitting work. It's about working if you want to. It's about traveling without putting it on a credit card. It's about taking care of your parents, your children, or yourself without depending on anyone. And this freedom isn't a privilege reserved for the ultra-wealthy. It's the result of a simple plan, applied with discipline over time. But it all starts with a shift in the way you view money. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. The mindset of the wealthy. How the rich think. If you want to change your financial life, you need to start by changing your mindset. Because the rich don't think like most people. While most people see money as something to spend, the rich see money as a tool to multiply value. People with a scarcity mindset say, "When I have some left over, I'll invest." Cecit. People with an abundance mindset say, "I invest first and spend what's left." The difference is in the order of decisions. The rich don't live to buy liabilities or to impress others. They focus on acquiring income-generating asset. While some people buy the latest phone on a 12-month payment plan, others buy stocks that pay dividends every year. Another key point, the rich think long-term. They don't ask, "What does this give me today?" Instead, they ask, "What can this become in 10, 20, or 30 years?" That long-term vision is what allows them to make smarter decisions, even if they're not exciting in the moment. And above all, they understand that building wealth is a process. A series of small, smart decisions repeated over a long time. You don't need to be born rich to think like the rich, but you do need to think like them in order to become rich. And it starts with the awareness that no one is going to do this for you. The responsibility and the power is entirely yours. The responsibility is yours. This is the hardest part for many people, accepting that no one is coming to save you financially. It won't be the government. It won't be your employer. It won't be the economy. The only person responsible for your financial future is you. And that's not bad news. In fact, it's empowering. Because if the responsibility is in your hands, so is the control. Waiting for something external to change is a perfect recipe for stagnation. But once you take charge, everything begins to shift. You start to see opportunities where you once saw limitation. You might say, "But I don't earn much." That's okay. What matters is starting with what you have. "But I don't know how to invest." Today, with the internet and accessible platforms, anyone can learn. But what if it doesn't work out? Worse would be staying exactly where you are, with no growth, no plan, no future. The truth is, the system wants you to stay dependent. It wants you to spend without thinking, to finance everything, to live paycheck to paycheck. But you can break that cycle. You can build something different, something that's yours. The decision is yours. It's not easy, but it is simple. And it all begins with a plan. And that's exactly what we'll look at now. How to create a simple, clear, and effective plan to make your money work for you. Have a simple and clear plan. You don't need an MBA in finance to build wealth. What you need is a simple plan and the discipline to follow it. Here's a straightforward model to get started. 1. Open an account with a reliable brokerage. Platforms like Vanguard, Fidelity, or even apps like Robinhood and Nubank Invest let you start investing with just a few clicks. 2. Choose an index fund. Go for funds that track major indexes like the S&P 500. They offer automatic diversification and strong long-term performance. 3. Set up automatic contributions. Schedule a fixed amount to be invested weekly or monthly, even if it's just $5 a day. Automation removes emotion from the process and ensures consistency. 4. Don't touch the money. The power of the plan lies in time. Don't try to time the market. Just invest and let time do its work. This simple plan, followed consistently, can do more for you than any hot tip or magic formula. And if you want to boost your results even further, there's a powerful strategy used by smart investors around the world. Let's talk about it now. The DRIP plan. DRIP strategy. Automatic reinvestment. If you want your money to grow with more consistency and less effort, you need to know about the DRIP strategy. Dividend Reinvestment Plan. This strategy is simple, yet extremely powerful. Here's how it works. When you invest in stocks or funds that pay dividends, those dividends are usually deposited as cash into your account. But with DRIP enabled, those amounts are automatically reinvested to buy more shares of the same asset. In other words, instead of spending what you receive, you use the profits to increase your ownership in the asset. This means that with every new dividend, you earn more because you now hold more shares. And in the next cycle, your return will be even greater. It's a virtuous cycle of exponential growth, a compound interest machine working without your interference. Now imagine this running for years, uninterrupted. You invest $5 a day into a fund that pays regular dividends. Each dividend is automatically reinvested. That reinvestment generates even more dividends in the future. And the cycle continues. You start small, but build a portfolio that grows like a quiet snowball. Another powerful benefit, DRIP eliminates the risk of emotional decisions. You don't have to decide whether or not to reinvest. The system does it for you. This protects your discipline even during emotional or volatile market periods. And best of all, many brokerages and funds offer DRIP at no extra cost. By activating this feature from the start, you can accelerate your journey to financial freedom without needing to invest more, just by reinvesting what you've already earned. The combination of regular contribution plus news time plus automatic reinvestment is what turns ordinary investors into quiet millionaires. And if you want to go even further, there's a way to strengthen this process even more. Automate your entire financial wealth system. That's what we'll cover next. Automate your wealth. Imagine having a system running in the background every day, making your money grow even when you're not paying attention. That's exactly what financial automation allows. And when combined with DRIP, it becomes one of the most effective strategies for long-term wealth accumulation. Here's the logic. Automating your daily or monthly contributions ensures you don't rely on motivation or memory to invest. You set the amount, the date, and where it goes, and the system does the rest. This way, you gain consistency, even during busy weeks or tough months. Avoid emotional decisions, like pausing investments during fear or hype. Build the habit effortlessly, because it happens automatically. This automation isn't just convenient, it's powerful, because it makes wealth building inevitable. You don't need to be an expert. You just need a clear plan and trust in the process. Most brokerages allow you to set up recurring investments and automatic dividend reinvestment with just a few clicks. You set it up once, and then just watch your money grow over time. Automating your wealth is like putting your financial plan on autopilot. And when you combine that with discipline and long-term vision, the results come. Every time. And now that you've built a system that works for you, let's explore how the wealthy use another powerful tool, debt, as an ally to grow even faster. Debt as an ally. When we talk about debt, most people immediately think of something negative. High interest rates, over-indebtedness, loss of control. And rightfully so. Bad debt is a trap. But what almost no one tells you is that the wealthy use debt as a strategic tool to accelerate wealth creation. The difference lies in purpose. Everyday people use debt for consumption, buying cars, phones, clothes, or financing vacations. The wealthy use debt to invest in assets, buying rental properties, expanding businesses, acquiring stocks, or leveraging investments that yield more than the cost of the loan. This approach has three major advantages. 1. Preserves personal capital. Even when they have money, investors use other people's money and keep their own capital invested in profitable assets. 2. Accelerates growth with strategic leverage. It's possible to increase profits without having to spend years saving up. 3. Offers tax benefits. In many countries, interest paid on certain types of debt is tax deductible, which reduces your tax bill and increases your net return. Of course, this strategy requires knowledge, control, and planning. It's not about taking on just any kind of debt, but rather using credit as a lever to multiply assets. You can start small, with a well-structured mortgage, a low-interest loan to fund a business, or even using credit limits strategically to reinvest profits. The key is this: use debt to build wealth, not to survive. And now, to complete this entire financial picture, let's understand how debt can also protect your money from inflation and the erosion of time. Protection against inflation. Few people realize this, but debt can also be used as a way to protect yourself against inflation. And the wealthy do this all the time. How does it work? Let's say you take out a long-term loan with a fixed interest rate. Over time, inflation causes the real value of money to decrease. In other words, the money you'll pay back in the future is worth less than the money you borrowed today. Meanwhile, the assets you bought with that debt, such as real estate, stocks, or businesses, tend to increase in value over time. The result? You win twice. Your assets increase in value, while your debt loses real value. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, took out a long-term mortgage, even though he could have paid for his house in full. Why? Because he knew his money would earn more invested than sitting idle in a property. This kind of strategy allows the wealthy to keep their money working in assets that outpace inflation, while using debt as a shield. It's counterintuitive, but effective, using the system in your favor instead of being crushed by it. When used wisely, debt becomes a tool for both growth and protection, rather than a threat. Now that you understand how it all connects, it's time to reinforce what matters most. Why starting now is the decision that changes everything. If you've made it this far, you already know there's no magic formula. But there is a powerful truth. Time is passing, and your money is either growing or slipping away. The difference between those who build financial freedom and those who stay stuck in debt, stress, and insecurity isn't luck, talent, or income. It's the decision to start and not stop. It doesn't matter if today you can invest $5 a day or just $1. What matters is that you turn it into a habit, not an exception. A year from now, you'll look back and say one of two things: I'm so glad I started. Or, I could have started, but I didn't. And believe me, a year flies by. 10 years fly even faster. The question is, where will you be when that time has passed? Financial freedom is built, not inherited. It's born from small daily decisions and a commitment to your future. If you take action now, you'll reap the rewards of that choice for the rest of your life. And the most incredible part, you'll inspire others to do the same. Because when you change your story with money, you change your family's story and the story of generations to come. So take a deep breath, reflect on what you've learned, and get ready to take the most important step, the first one. Now that you have clarity about the path ahead, there's only one thing left: take action. You don't need more videos, more books, or more spreadsheets. You need commitment to turn everything you've learned here into a real decision today. So here's a simple but powerful challenge. Comment now: I will invest $5 a day in my future. That sentence isn't just a comment, it's a commitment to yourself, to your future, to your freedom. And if this video resonated with you, like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who also needs to hear this message. Because information only has value when it's shared and applied. Remember, you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have a lot of money. You just need to start with what you have, where you are, however you can. Because in the end, the difference between those who reach freedom and those who remain stuck lies in one simple choice: start now or keep waiting. And as the old proverb says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. This is your now. Invest in it, nurture it, persist, and reap the rewards for the rest of your life.